Hi everyone, this is Suzanne Wagner. Thank you for joining me. We are doing the Numerology and the Astrology for August 10th, 2020. If you add all those numbers together, you get the number 13. And if you add the 1 and the 3 together, you get the number 4. You've heard me say before, the number 4 is the number of neutral mind, harmony, balance, communication, cooperation, negotiation, diplomacy. It is the number of therapists. It's the number of people who are mediators and counselors and negotiators, and where you have to listen to one person's viewpoint, you have to listen to another person's viewpoint, and you somehow have to bring the two together. And it's hard to do that at times. It's hard to bring opposing sides together. It's a real skill that has to be learned over lifetimes, I think, because the neutral mind in yogic numerology is considered one of the highest vibrations that you can actually hold. Buddha was neutral. Nelson Mandela was neutral. Gandhi was neutral. And yet they did not live in a neutral time. And the only way to test to see if you're truly neutral is to put you in chaos. So here we are. Here we are in the midst of this chaos. So I watch the world continue to spiral out of balance, which is the number 4. Whether it's in balance or out of balance, it's still the number 4. And into more chaos and despair. Things continue to swing wildly, and some things will not change while certain people are in charge and others stand back and do nothing. Balance requires action and counteraction. It is like being on those balancing boards with a ball under the center, so that you have to constantly make those small little micro adjustments to maintain that precarious balance. Such things are an ever-changing equation as we try to find balance on a ball of a planet moving around itself and then around the sun, and it is also moving through the galaxy. It is a miracle that we can find balance at all when there are really multiple things trying to figure out how to align, integrate, and move with. This moment is adding to that strain. Yes, it is a lot. Yes, it will continue to stress each person. Yes, each of us will learn new ways to balance. Yes, you can do this. Yes, you can learn a new way. The astrology for today. The moon spends today in the steadying and determined sign of Taurus. You want comfort and to find a way to feel connected to others. Monday morning brings a bit of an upset as there is a Mercury squaring Uranus. You may feel on edge and overwrought. You may have things to keep you may have many things that will keep you on that edge, but those heightened senses can be trained to give you deeper insight and new ideas. Making sense out of intuitive hits is more complicated than actually getting the insights. Know that speaking out of turn will not be taken well in your work environment. Expect some challenges with bosses and those that think that they have authority over you. Notice the normal routines that are a bit boring, but appreciate the safety and the stability for the moment in this very new world that we all live within. Expect to continue to hear things that are designed to upset you and to keep you on edge. We are all learning new ways to cope, process information, and analyze. The sun is quincunx with Jupiter, and it's kind of like you've got the two largest bodies in the sky pulling back and forth against each other. You're being pushed and pulled between two realities, the past and the future. The past does not fit, and the future seems so unstable that you cannot depend on it. So what do? How do you choose? The answer is to always go forward. It is really the only way. Most problems are not being solved in satisfying ways. Conclusions do not play out as anticipated. Constant adjustments require a highly flexible mind. You are being shaken up and asked to depend on things you are being shaken up and asked to depend on real things, not more things that can break down under the onslaught of the chronic world conditions that are presently upsetting all old structures. My quote for today: you cannot grow if you refuse to stretch beyond what you know. And my blog is just some ideas and some thoughts that I think are kind of cool to play with. I like to think of sometimes these as little Zen koans that you walk through your day and you kind of play with some ideas and thoughts. And the thought today is insecurity and resistance are really a deeply hidden fear of not being ready, good enough, capable, or willing. So this came up for me when I was, thinking about, the places in my life, and everyone's had them, where you feel insecure or you feel yourself kind of put on the brakes and stall and not want to go into something. It's like, oh, I don't know, can I do that? And I remember one of my Tantra teachers basically said one of the key things is willingness, that you have to just keep willing to go forward consciously, safely, and constructively in your life. But it's our insecurities that create the resistance. So when I feel like I'm not good enough or I'm not okay, then what happens is that I just stop, like, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I can't do that. And the older I get, the more I look back on my life. And, a lot of people will look at my life and say, God, you said yes a lot. I mean, like you took a lot of risks in your life on multiple levels. And I did. But I could also always feel that fear and that insecurity on the inside. And the fear was that I wasn't really ready. I didn't have enough skill. But I find that the universe does not hand you something unless they think you can make an A on the test. Now, you could focus on the percentages of yourself that don't think they can pass the test. But if the universe presents something, I assume that the deck is stacked in my favor somehow. The deck is actually stacked in my favor. And so, take that in for a second, that this is happening, so why resist? And so I know people go, my life was totally fine and perfect, and then this situation happened, and it just destroyed my faith and belief in the universe, or something like this. And the first thing I want to say is, number one, we're all going to die. Number two, we're all going to make mistakes. Number three, life is supposed to be an experience, not some calculated event. Number four, if you're here on this planet, you're going to learn to have to move more spontaneously. Number five, those things that come up spontaneously are absolutely consciously designed by the angels to trigger your insecurity and your resistance so that you see it. Because there's nothing more uncomfortable than feeling stuck, which is what is resistance, and feeling insecure and doubting yourself. I remember that I was doing work in LA, and I was, I was in being introduced to a lot of really famous, powerful people in Beverly Hills and the movie industry and, the rock and roll industry and all this kind of stuff. And I remember there was a moment I was in a limo with some famous musicians, and I was insecure. I was like, oh my God, I'm in the limo. Like, how did I get in the limo? And I was nervous and I was stressed. And finally, one of the guys turned to me and he said, look, everybody tries to impress us. Do us all a favor. Stop trying to impress us. Because the bottom line is we actually think you're already cool. And that's why you're in the limo. You wouldn't even be in the limo if we didn't think you were interesting and cool. And so we want to know who you are. We want to get to know who you are from an authentic place, not from this place that you're trying to promote yourself in this LA scene. We assume you're already cool. There's something about your energy that's already cool. And then I realized in that moment how much I had spent time in my life striving, thinking I needed to be something when the game really is just about being authentically yourself. And so that's why you hear me say often, it's like, my ego is so dissolved at this point. Like, I don't even care if anybody watches my videos or doesn't watch my videos, or it thinks I'm saying something interesting or not, because I know I'm good enough. I know I'm good enough at this point at 60 years old. I know that I'm good enough. And so I just want to share, I just want to share, perspective and insight and things that I've learned and tools that I've had. And so if I'm just sharing, there's no need for insecurity, and there's definitely no need for resistance. Because if you know who you are and you trust that the universe will not present anything if you're not ready, and that the universe is assuming you're good enough, then all I have to be is willing. It makes a big difference. So most people fear being seen in a vulnerable state, where they are not in control of how they appear to others. And I think we can spend so much of our life enabling and maintaining false sense of selves, so our false self. And it takes a lot of energy to maintain a false self. And when you finally realize that it's like, just, it's okay, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to show my good, my bad, my fuck ups, my really cool moments. And I can't, and you recognize that you can't control how you appear to others, because some people might see vulnerability as weakness, and some people might see vulnerability as really cool and open and amazing. So I see so many videos out there with everybody, like all types of videos, that are out there where, you can see that they're doing so much to maintain their ego, that they're all puffed up a certain way. And while they might be entertaining, is the information a type of information that sticks with you and changes you and alters you? Because I think we get caught in a world where we want to be entertained more than we want authenticity and realness, because that seems to be the cool thing out there. It seems to be the cool thing out there. But I find dancing with people's egos incredibly tiring and exhausting and boring. And I would rather spend 15 minutes in genuine, authentic soul connection with somebody and never see them again than to spend 5 years with somebody who will not drop in and show me that vulnerable place inside of them that is where the seat of their soul really sits. That to me is that vulnerability that is really amazing, and I feel really honored when somebody shows me that. So, learn to say yes to what comes your way. Ignore the fears and put the resistance aside. If you cannot grow if you refuse to stretch beyond what you know. I over and over again just say yes to the universe. Now, in saying yes to the universe, it doesn't mean I get what I said yes to. In fact, like 90+% of the time I don't get what I said yes to. But you're not blocking the universe from handing you something. And so people come up to me and they say, "Oh, Suzanne, I want to do this thing, I'm like, "Yes," and then they inevitably drop the ball, because when I say yes, it puts the ball back in their court. And then it's like, if we're doing this, we're doing this. And, many years ago, it's like I said yes to a particular project that I thought was interesting. And, what I found was that I was doing it all, and the other people weren't doing anything. And then I've had the opposite where, in my Wild Women Symposium, it's like I said yes, and a whole bunch of people jumped in, and they were busting ass. I mean, they were like, we were really working so incredibly to make this thing happen for women. And we put on an incredible events. And yet somehow it just didn't make any money. And so we couldn't maintain it because we were losing, tens of thousands of dollars every time we did it. Or I should say I was losing tens of thousands of dollars every time we did it. So, there's that place where, even when you say yes to the universe, it does not mean that it will actually manifest. It does not mean that it will even work if it manifests, because all of these things are tests, to ignore your fear and to put resistance aside. And the universe is testing you to see if you are good enough to put the resistance to the side. And if you do that over and over again, then something really cool and magical can start to happen, because it's like you expand your bubble and expand your bubble and expand your bubble. Your bubble has to be incredibly big to attract in money, power, wealth, different things. I mean, and yes, there are people who have certain astrological charts that they are just incredibly lucky. I have a friend of mine that, she is just incredibly good at finding the millionaire in a room full of people. And, and that person will want to take care of her for years. I mean, it's, some people have a knack. I mean, I don't have that knack, but some people have that knack. So, just kind of be authentic. It's like, no matter what, just be who you are, be authentic, and recognize everybody's path is so different. And that's why I love astrology, because I look at charts and I go, wow, they actually can do that. And that works for them. But I could never do that. That's never going to work for me. But it works for them every single time. And then, we have all our own unique methods in this lifetime to manifest. And you should just let yourself be okay with that, and just let yourself be authentic with that, and, let yourself flow with those things, rather than try to figure them out sometimes. Okay? So thanks, you guys, for listening. I appreciate you tuning in. I hope you have a glorious day. Bye.